Well, excited to have our next guest on as we get into the mind of a scout, and especially looking ahead to the NHL draft next week. We have the Nashville Predators Chief Amateur Scout, Tom Nolan, joining us right now. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. We know there were some technical difficulties yesterday, and I was like, hey, we've got to get him on because Tom always has some good stuff to say going into the draft. So really appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. And I asked David Pohl yesterday about salivating over the number of picks in the first 42. For you as the scout, knowing the number of picks the Predators have just in the first 3 rounds with 5 overall, how excited does that make you and your team of scouts to know that, hey, there's probably going to be some guys available that we know we've looked at, we're excited about, and can really add to this organization?
Yeah, we're really excited about the amount of picks that we have. We haven't had this in the last couple of years, and like David said, we have 5 picks in the first 72 picks. So we can really make some hay here with our picks. Really, kind of like we always talk about, is stacking the cupboard. I think we got to start doing that with our organization, and I think we have a great opportunity to do that this year, and there's we like a lot of guys in the top 4 rounds.
No, absolutely. It's a good-looking draft overall, and especially at 11, knowing no matter what, you're going to get a good player for this team. Going to get a good player. But looking at this, and every team's been in this boat with the pandemic, with the pause especially for junior and college, things like that. What's the process been like for you and your team in terms of evaluating players, knowing that you obviously got a good chunk of their seasons into March, but missed out on the opportunity of seeing some of these guys in playoffs, seeing some of them in the Memorial Cup, or seeing them in the college hockey playoffs, just those little extra looks. So what's the evaluation process been like for you guys?
Well, to be honest with you, like the second part of the season is like my last time I've been on a plane was March 13th. And that's unheard of for myself and our staff. And it's been a different. I mean, every team's got to go through it, so we're all going through it. But I think we've done a really good job of, when we found out that we were going to kind of halt the season, we kind of took 2 weeks off and kind of figured out where we were going from there. And then we adjusted, we put a plan in place, and we basically and I have to give Nick Lebrano, our video coordinator, a lot of kudos. He went back and basically went through our top 20 for each guy in our territory and did video from like February on to March 13th. That was the last game basically that anyone played, junior, college, anything. And we kind of simulated the season. And we went back and did a lot of video work. And then we just kind of did that for a couple weeks, and then just got into our regular end of season meetings. And that's kind of how we, got our list together.
And keeping with that, so when you're looking at the depth of players, how do you all handle differences in your feelings on players? Maybe when your thought processes don't line up on who you're looking at and why you're looking at them, and you're under a time constraint. How do you all work through those instances?
Our staff's been together for a long time, and I think we all know what we're looking for, especially this year. We a couple years ago, obviously we went to the Stanley Cup final. We've traded some stuff away, and now we know we need to, like I said before, we have to stock the cupboard again. And we know what we need. We need skill. We need character. Our scouts know what we need, and I think we're all on the same page of what we need. And when we are talking about players, it's not that we disagree. It's more of like we're trying to pinpoint exactly what we need as a team and as an organization.
And what a lot of people don't fully grasp, I think, is the talent that it takes when you're scouting prospects. I mean, anybody can go on social media and say, oh, you need to pick so-and-so, right? But it's teachable to some degree, but it's also not easy to teach, because what I've seen is there's almost an intuitive aspect to scouting. You can learn to have an eye for it, but some people just simply have a really, really good eye for it. So what are some key components just of this career path overall that people can learn more about this job?
You've got to learn from your mistakes. I think that's one of your biggest, it's okay to look back at drafts and talk to your staff and say, how did we miss on this guy? Why didn't we have this guy further along? And it's very hard because a lot of these guys that we're looking at are 17 years old. I mean, they're going to be 18 by obviously the season the following year, the September 15th. But these kids are 17, and you just can't. It's hard to really tell where they're going to go physically. So you're just trying to get all the information, like character, how much room he has to move, to grow physically. And again, like I said, it's learning from past mistakes, and it's one of those things you gotta be in the business for a long time to learn it,
And you've been doing this for a while, since 2008 with the Predators as an amateur scout. So been there for a while. And again, joining us right now is the Nashville Predators Chief Amateur Scout, Tom Nolan, talking to us ahead of the NHL Draft. And Tom, looking at this too, you mentioned character, mentioned a lot of these things. We know a lot of players go through the interview process with these teams, and without giving away the farm and what you're asking players, what are some of those things in terms of qualities and how you're able to evaluate how players have some of these qualities? Like you said, they're young, and it's hard to judge a lot of these things too. So in terms of these interviews and what you're seeing from players, how are you evaluating them that they do have good character, they do have leadership qualities, that they're a good person that would be a good fit for an organization?
Well, you really got to lean on your area guys. That's number one. Those are the guys that are doing the interviews, like during the season with coaches, trainers, and one of the assets we've had this year is we've had more time to actually even do more interviews, where we've talked to trainers, like even further. And just in this summer, we've gotten info on guys that, normally they would have got drafted in June. Now all of a sudden you're talking to the trainer in August and September, and they're like, wow, he's gained, 10 to 15 pounds or 5 to 10 pounds, and his explosive numbers have gone through the roof. So it's kind of helped us a little bit. But again, it comes down to, when you're really looking at these guys, it comes down to skill, skating, character. But then it's your area guys that are really digging deep into, like what type of person he is, and like what type of, like where is he going? Where's he going from 17 to 21?
And that's a big moment right there too. A lot of growth mentally and physically happens in those few years right there. And looking at the Predators, and I'm sure other teams have done this, but the Predators have found some gems. Obviously, Pekka Rinne being a gem with where he was drafted. Victor Arvidsson, who was passed over before, and then able to find. How proud does it make a scout when a player like that was either passed over or is found in a late round? What's the pride like for a scout when a guy like that is successful, like a Rinne, like an Arvidsson, and say, we found this guy. We're able to find him in a round that doesn't exist anymore. We found him when he was already passed over.
It's huge, and I have to give credit to all our European guys. They've done an unbelievable job, kind of finding those gems. And we're trying to rely on those guys even more and more. And going forward, we need more of those. We're in that situation right now. We just got to keep filling that cupboard. But everyone, it's a huge. When you get a guy in the 7th round that can, be the best goalie in the league, that's unbelievable. And then Roman Josi we get in the 2nd round, and now he's a Norris Trophy winner. Those are things that we're trying to learn from and keep doing that. We want to get more of these guys. We want to get a Norris Trophy guy in the 3rd round.
Oh, absolutely. And last, before I have to let you go, this is obviously a very different draft. I wish we could have been in Montreal, because I was really looking forward to that trip, since I've never been there before. Looking forward to smoked meats and bagels. But it's going to be digital. So I know there's going to be challenges, but there's also going to be times where it's probably going to be a little bit different in a good way. Like you said, you've had extra time to evaluate. So what are you looking forward to next week in terms of this experience and what it's going to be like and what you're going to be able to learn from it?
First of all, I'm just looking forward to getting on a plane again and traveling. It's been so long. Jeff and I are going down. We're both in the Northeast, so we're going to be on the same flight down. It'll be nice to just see the guys. I haven't seen anyone in Nashville since March, so it'll be nice that way. And again, it's learning. We're going to learn some things that we've never been involved in, and so it'll be interesting. I do think all the video and all this stuff has been great. I do think that we got to get back into seeing people live. But I do think we will learn a lot from this process, and we can implement a lot of the stuff that we've done into our system going forward.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm a big draft guy. Love following prospects. So, Tom, really appreciate your insight and helping us get into the mind of a scout. So thanks for taking the time to join us.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, folks. Tom Nolan, the Nashville Predators Chief Amateur Scout. Great information there just about the mind of scouting, because, I mean, I went through a little bit of training with ISS hockey, got a little bit there, and it is, like you said, it's difficult. It's a hard job.
It is a lot more than just looking at somebody and saying, wow, he's a great skater, let's get him.
And the most difficult thing is to take your eye off the puck.
Exactly.
We're so trained to follow the puck, to follow the football, to follow the baseball, to follow the ball, the sports puck that is involved in the play. And then when you're evaluating a player, you got to see positioning, what they're doing when they're away from the puck, how they are positioning like that with their hockey IQ and all that stuff. So major kudos to anyone that's a scout, has been in the business, because it is not an easy job to do.
And it's fascinating hearing coming from somebody like that, because you think about when you're talking about Pekka Rinne, like at some point there were people that watched him that were like, oh, you know, and that's where the intuitive part, I think, comes in, because sometimes you just have an eye for it, and you can look at him and see, even if I don't see it in this moment, I can see it 3 years from now. And that's a talent. That's hard to do.
Rinne wasn't even playing much. He was the backup.
Exactly.
When they were scouting
So there's
him.
a lot of people looking at him just kind of like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he's a goalie. Okay, great.